Men, what's the most challenging aspect of masculinity that's rarely discussed or understood? The enormous amount of pressure we put on ourselves to be a good provider. My very specific gripe is that, ever since Me Too, the focus of the conversation about men and masculinity has hyper-focused on what not to do. There's almost no discussion of positively healthy masculinity or good examples. I mean, Me Too absolutely had to happen, and the creeps who got outed definitely deserved every ounce of what was coming to them. For the rest of us, though, it's real hard to find a healthy gender expression in a list of don't das. Ida. I do gotta shout out all the bros at our bro pill for contributing to such a bastion of positive masculinity though. If you're a large man, women will believe you are intimidating and a threat, which I understand. But in my case, I was in a mosh pit 5 years ago and got knocked completely into this group of teenage girls, who I assume were in their first mosh pit. And next thing I know, one of the girls found me on Instagram and began accusing me of SA. The way she described the incident placed a lot of focus on how big and scary I was, and that I had apparently been staring her down leading up to it. She was very clearly lying, but everyone believed her, and it wrecked my entire life for a few years. There was no hope in trying to defend myself, because everyone's impression of me is of a big, intimidating man, and if I'm being honest, I suspect the color of my skin may have been a contributing factor as well. I'm better now when it's settled, but I'm scarred for life from this, and ever since then I never know if the girl I'm talking to is viewing me as a threat, which I'm the furthest from in reality. This has been brought up before, but whenever some people say it's okay for men to express their emotions, and the men proceed to express their emotions verbally, why is it that when men do that, those same people then tell the men to stop venting and seek therapy instead? The hell does that make sense? You tell a man it's okay to vent. He then vents, and then you get uncomfortable and basically tell him to shut up and seek therapy. Do you not understand how degrading that feels? This has happened to me multiple times, and I don't understand it. It's not necessarily rarely discussed, but how isolated men typically are. No physical touch, no compliments, little support, that kind of thing. That you're told that you can move away from traditional masculinity, but then you are punished for it. Especially by women. It's sort of a throw away traditional masculinity, except the parts that I like. Seeing all this stuff about body shaming being bad, but then people always say things like small dick syndrome whenever they see a car that they don't like. I'm not short, but I feel for my short bros. Being a short woman is fine. Being a short man is a struggle. The balance required of you to appear confident and assertive without being a dick. You're constantly told that men are trash and that we're violent, perverted monsters. But then when anybody flirts with me as a man, it's basically an ironic joke that they want me for precisely the same reasons that they think I'm a disgusting, evil pile of trash. Being judged by our height as if I chose to be below average in the womb. The whole having game thing. Emotionally tolling. Learning how to become one with no father figure to guide you. People look at you in terms of your capacity for violence. We are the pitbulls of society. You can be the most kind, gentle dude ever, a complete pacifist that abhors violence. But all people will see is that if you wanted to do violence, you have the tools to do so. People are afraid of you just walking home at night. It makes us unwelcome in more female-dominated spaces. And at the same time, there's an unwelcome pressure to be capable of and do violence. We are expected to fight to defend our partners, to die for others in an emergency, to carry and know how to use weapons. I just don't want to be defined by violence, man. I can only speak to my lived experience. Many women can give you a really hard time and be unfairly judgmental of you, and things like severe depression or mental health difficulties do not register with a lot of them. The lack of compassion and empathy from many women nowadays towards men who are really struggling is shocking. Some of them even find humor in it. Obviously, you cannot tell everyone you have a long-term mental health disorder, because who does that? There are too many societal expectations and expectations from women that can just be too overwhelming for people in a disposition like mine. Our mistreatment usually falls on deaf ears, and we are a boogeyman for progressives. But here one of your friends was a bitch to you today, everyone will give you hugs and kisses. At least you have friends. I am still dealing with depression and sleepless nights after having a rough childhood, but sure, who cares? No wonder men kill themselves. If a man asks for help, his strength is called into question, and a weak man is not treated well these days. Most of your emotions are socially illegal. That women want us to open up and show true emotions. Except depression, sadness, fear, or unconfidence. Sometimes I sit on my own balls. Men's mental health. The feeling of being seen as disposable, Whether it is backbreaking labor or warm bodies on the front lines, I feel as though men are only seen on the value they can provide. Gus Fring, and a man provides. And he does it even when he's not appreciated, or respected, or even loved. He simply bears up, and he does it. Because he's a man. What does a man do, Walter? A man provides for his family. But maybe that is just me, and the culture has been swaying more and more for that instant gratification.